Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our issue series tonight. Um, we are in the second year of the new program calendar where we're running April to September. And so before we dive into the issue series, I'll give a brief kind of overview of the program. My name is Charlie. I'm the program director of the Boards and Commissions Leadership Institute here at the Nexus Community Partners here in the Twin Cities, and I'm joined by my colleague Christine Lien. So thanks for taking the time out of your busy evening to join us this evening. Um, Christine, if you could please go to the next slide. We'll do a brief background of the BCLI. So Urban Habitat is an amazing BIPOC-led environmental justice nonprofit out of Oakland in the Bay Area. They've been around almost 40 years, and they now currently advocate for issues campaigns throughout the state of California, but especially in the Bay Area around housing justice, transportation justice, especially environmental justice, and all sorts of issues, especially as they intersect with race and class. And back in 2009, as they were organizing around issues campaigns in the Bay Area, they realized that some of the boards and commissions that had power over important policies that they wanted to move the needle on were not reflective of the diverse communities that they serve. And so they did some research to see if there was any leadership program that would train BIPOC leaders to get on boards and commissions, and there wasn't. So they decided if there is no such program, then we should create one ourselves. And so in 2009, Urban Habitat created the BCLI, and my predecessor and former boss, Terry Tao, here at Nexus, found out about it and reached out in 2011 to get permission to replicate the program. And so we got permission to replicate the program. And so we started our program in the Twin Cities in 2013 with the first cohort. Um, Christine, if you go to the next slide, please. Um, this is the public component of our cohort. The cohort encompasses 6 Saturday sessions just for the cohort members across 6 months from April to September. And towards the last 2 months, and September, there are two public learning panels that we call the issue series, where we bring together subject matter experts or people with lived experience and other forms of expertise and knowledge to talk about issues that relate to our 5 issue areas, especially as it relates to equity, policies, and racial justice. And Christine, you go to the next slide, please. So these are the 5 issue areas in our BCLI cohort. We train across 5 curriculum topics of economic development, health, housing, transit, and workforce development. And again, we have in 12 cohorts, we now have 168 alumni throughout the Twin Cities, mostly, but also out in greater Minnesota too, from areas like Fergus Falls to Duluth. And this is why boards and commissions are important to us. The reason that we train folks for boards and commissions is because it's a hidden layer of power that most people don't think about, especially for us BIPOC folks and community members who are not historically in tune with the systems of power that were not designed by us and for us. And so when we think about power, we often think about elected seats. While those are important, we have to remember that appointed seats are also very important because once you get on an appointed seat, you can have the opportunity to have a powerful seat at the table and be able to vote on important policies that directly affect people's lives. And so the different legal and political powers that boards and commissions have are highlighted here. So different boards, committees, and commissions, depending on what government unit created them, they can have the power to review and advise on local and regional policies, plans, and budgets. They can facilitate community input. They can incorporate public comments and conduct public hearings on topics. They can research critical issues. They can review agency reports. Um, they can make recommendations to agency or city council or executives like the mayors and the governors and other policy makers, and they can make decisions on policies and implementation. They can give or take away rights, such as permits for land use. Examples would be planning commissions and like the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. And so the issues of land use are some of the most important legal powers that a government entity can have. And with that, I will go ahead and introduce our three panelists tonight. Um, Elvis Rivera is a first generation immigrant and finance services professional and community advocate with governance experience spanning the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. He currently serves as member of the Minnesota Council on Latino Affairs, which is a governor-appointed state advisory council that advises the state and legislature on issues affecting Minnesota's Latino community. He also serves on the board of directors of Southern Minnesota Regional Legal Services, where he supports governance, strategic planning, and financial services oversight for one of Minnesota's largest providers of civil legal aid. And he is a BCLI alumnus. His nonprofit governance experience includes serving as treasurer and finance committee chair for Latino Lead, helping guide the organization's financial strategy during a period of significant growth. He has also served on the boards of Green Card Voices and the Pro Hispanica Twin Cities chapter. Um, our second panelist is Lue Vang. Lue is an experienced nonprofit professional with over 15 years of experience. He's worked for many local Twin Cities nonprofits across various issues and causes. His wide range of experience in nonprofit and public boards includes service on the Southeast Asian Resource Action um, Board and as well as the um, board treasurer for Friends of St. Paul College, board treasurer of um, the Metropolitan Regional Arts Council, and he has also been on the St. Paul Planning Commission. Victor Obisakin is our third panelist. Victor Obisakin is a Nigerian uh, um, born community leader, born in Bern, Switzerland. As the son of a Nigerian diplomat, he has unique upbringing that allowed him to attend elementary school in Brazil, middle school in Nigeria, and high school in Israel. Surrounded by international students, Victor developed a strong sense of empathy and gained the ability to view things through a cultural lens. He's gone through the Wilder Foundation's Community Equity Program here locally, as well as being a member of our BCLI program. He's joined the New American Leaders Program and is also a member of the Council for Minnesotans of African Heritage and the Governor's Community Council on Inclusion and Equity. Victor also proudly is an appointed member on the Met Council. So the goal for this evening is to hear from our amazing group of friends, partners, and BCLI alumni who are BIPOC leaders and to learn about their experiences on boards and commissions. And with that, I'll let Justine ask a couple of questions and before we go into Q&A.
Okay, thanks, Chai. So my first question to the three panelists is going to be, what inspired you to apply for your first public board and commission, and have you found that to be a rewarding experience?
I can go first or anybody. Well, I guess I'll start. Since I spoke up. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Excited to share what I can. I hope it's helpful to at least one person. Um, I think, I applied. I guess my path to public service, I believe it really began in 2018, but I was inspired well before then. My stepdad was an organizer when I was a child, and in the 70s, he was one of the folks that staged a sitting at the a chancellor's office at the University of Wisconsin, which later helped create the Latino Studies department in that college. And so, growing up with him, seeing his leadership and all that he had gone through, obviously, I had the luxury of hearing it firsthand from him. And so, I think that's where when that seed was planted. But in 2018, funny enough, I attended a BCLI event at Nexus, and there I met Erica Coleman, who's also uh, an alumni, and I learned through her what the BCLI program was about. She told me her experience with it. I think she was also kind of somewhat getting started on her journey. And I remember at the time I wasn't being intentional about, what I was doing in community, my advocacy work or anything like that. And I remember walking away from that meeting feeling challenged too. And so I began to be more intentional about what I did outside of work as it relates to advocacy. I'm a first generation immigrant, so organizing has always been a part of 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 life. I grew up in Guatemala during the 30-year long civil war, and so I'm aware of, people standing up for themselves and um, the systems keeping us down. And so that has always, I believe, um, kept me to a place where I value that. And so through that, you know, experience, again, I began to be more involved. I got involved with the DFL, Maria Isa's campaign. I helped found the DFL Latino Caucus, which we later renamed Movimiento. And I felt called to do more, and so I began to research. I went back to my conversation with Erica, and began to research, what are other ways that I can be more included and more present rather in community. And so I came across MCLA, the Minnesota Council on Latino Affairs, and learned all about its history. Maria Isa, she's a state rep, and her mother was actually one of the founding members of MCLA. So I got to learn more about its rich history, and I just really became excited about the potential of me being on that board, not for myself, but to make sure that the voices of my people were represented within the legislative and policy making process, which I think is very important. And a lot of us here in the state are immigrants that perhaps don't have status quite yet. That's how my story began. I came here as an illegal immigrant, and I am now a U.S. citizen. But I remember being in that time, in that season, feeling like, yes, I live here. Yes, this is home, but my voice feels like it's muted. And so I wanted to be um, that voice for those that can't. And so I made it a goal of mine to join the board, and um, I decided to make that a goal. But I didn't feel ready. I didn't feel like I knew enough. And so that's where BCLI came into play. I was trained on all the things, learned all the things, the ins and outs and in-betweens. And once I graduated from there, I applied for the role. And so I've been on the board of MCLA from representing CD3. I joined in June 2023. And it's been a great experience. I've learned so much. I like to think that I've been impactful in ways. Uh, but yeah, it's been an amazing experience in understanding more how the process works and just learning how important cross-sector collaboration is, and also, collaboration between parties. MCLA is a nonpartisan council, and so, obviously we all have our biases, but I believe that true progress happens when we are able to reach across the aisle and really delve into the things that matter to the community at large. I think at the core, we all want to be seen, heard, and understood and provide for our families. And so we can always create a foundation for conversation from that perspective. And so a lot of that has been cemented through my work within MCLA. So it's been a great experience. I guess I'll popcorn it to Lou.
Thanks for that, Elvis. So I'm not sure, like, so anyone who knows me, I like to be very personable and also kind of just shares a lot. And I do like a good sense of humor in my storytelling too. So again, thanks for inviting me. I've been in nonprofit accounting for about 17 years right now. Prior before having kids, I joined several nonprofit boards just for exposure and experience and really build up my experience. And then started eventually joined community boards, county board, and then planning commission. And eventually, I joined a national nonprofit board in the DC area to again just for exposure and experience. And you know, in event, the hope is that so also I used to work for a private foundation, so I also understand how private foundation works. So the hope is that in the next 5 years, I would love to join an international board. So if any of you guys know, please let me know. So the question is that what inspires me to apply for the Public Boarding Commission? So reflecting back, I want to share something that would inspire everyone here and maybe give a few quotes. If any guys have lunch with Chai like or dinner, he will be able to memorize all the histories and all the codes. So, uh, unfortunately, that's not me. And so, but I realized that it's best just to be honest. So, for after my comments, some of you might not even want to join public board or commission. However, the great thing is that the fact that everyone is already invested by participating in this program, and now it will be a waste of your time if you didn't join a board or commission. So therefore, I commend you. Did it find it rewarding? Most definitely. Would I do it again? Maybe not. Primarily because I learned enough about city planning, zoning, parking studies, and that it takes 10 years for the city to accomplish a capital project. Like 10 years. I didn't think it would take so long, and with how my generation functions, I'm going to stay away from planning. What inspired me to join? I joined because I wanted to get a better understanding of how government works and hopefully contribute something while at the same time keeping the government accountable to my community. And within the planning commission, I stopped after 4 years because it felt like class. It felt like a class to me. I would have to read a huge binder full of studies and policies before every meeting, and I appreciate all that reading. But 4 years in college was definitely good enough for me. Uh, However, I wish that we have a chat GPT to memorize all of those policies and studies so that I can go into the meeting more informed. I'm gonna pass it to Victor.
Thank you so much, Lou. Thank you, Elvis. Hey, good evening, everybody. Special thanks, shout out to, of course, Charlie and Christine and all the BCLI group. It's good to be here. My story, well, Chai told you half of it. The other half of that privileged life is that I came here to this country. I guess my university was picked for me, so I went to University of Minnesota, Crookston, because someone told my dad that the U of M is a great college, but they didn't tell my dad there was five of them. So I landed in the middle of nowhere. I'm talking, please, no offense, farm country, smelled like farm. It reeked, snowed like crazy, -60. So imagine me coming from a desert into such a place. And then I finally got to know as I grew up, that was a place that wasn't politically aligned with me, my ideas. So I'm talking red. So of course there was no room for growth. And in that city, I am the first firefighter of color. It didn't matter. I had a huge target on my back because I was not treated very nicely. And to some people who say, in fact, they even called me Obama boy. And some people, you would think I would be happy about that, but in the situation I was in, I didn't feel safe. And this is why we moved to the metro area. So when it comes to am I able to grow? There's no way because I was suppressed. So moving forward, we moved here to the metro area. My wife, for those of you who know Katia Cepeda, a very strong Mexican woman, worked for MCLA, and I just started to enjoy what she's doing. This was during COVID now, so they're having all their sessions in Zoom, and I'll be in my room, and you hear them arguing, deliberating. Some of you have been there. Some of them make, some comments that you want to question, where is that coming from? You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, what inspired me was I liked what she was doing, able to advocate for her community. That was awesome, and that's how I got into legislation. So I was inspired by my strong partner, and also inspired by a African American Major General who saw me in Chicago, and I think we got to arguing. He's like, "Hey, why aren't you running for office or commissions?" And I looked at him and, who cares, man? Who's going to listen to me? And he's like, "Listen, son, there are people making decisions for you without you. You need to get in on that." And that made me think. That made me think for a while, and it took a while. I'm like, but who's going to listen to me? I'm a nobody. I just have a bachelor's degree in hotel management. Who cares? Who wants to? So things happen, got a job in legislation, and joined the CEP program, which was I failed the first time, got in the second time, and Michaela, wonderful lady, said you need to meet a wonderful man by the name of Chai Lee, and rest is history. And that's how I joined BCLI, and BCLI just injected that fuel that enabled me to be like, you know what, I can do something. And when that voice of people tell you you can't, you can't, you can't, you can't, yes, you can. And that's where I am today. The rest is history. So I want to say, I saw the gap between the lived experiences of my community members and the decisions being made on their behalf. And I didn't think it was right. I didn't think it was fair that decisions are made behind closed doors without people that look like me, without people that belong in this country. I thought that was not right. So that inspired me. That inspired me to do something. And has it been rewarding? Absolutely. 100%. I just love when people come together for a purpose, are able to make a plan, are able to, stand up, fight. You saw that in Metro Surge when Minnesotans, thousands of us came together. Man, it's a beautiful thing. Making measurable impact for the people I serve, or we serve, I should say, is just amazing. Well, I don't want to bore you to death. We've got a second question, so I'm gonna leave you with that. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Victor. And thank you, Lou and Elvis as well. Um, our second question is, how has serving on a board or commission impacted your leadership growth, both personally and professionally? And Elvis, I can just have you start again.
For sure. You can go the same direction, I suppose. Thank you for the question. I think first and foremost, it has helped with my confidence and feeling empowered and belonging in those spaces. I'm not gonna lie, when I first joined, it was very daunting. Not because I didn't believe in myself, just because I hadn't been in those spaces before. I didn't know if I'd be good enough, or I didn't know if my voice would matter, or if I'd even be able to be impactful. And so actually metaphorically looking under the bed for the monster has been empowering in that it's really not that scary. And I think the opposite is actually true, right? Our voices are needed in those spaces very much, and we are capable, as Victor said. There's the only, well, this is not what Victor said, but the idea of what he alluded to is the only obstacles that stand in our way are the ones that we create and allow to be true for ourselves, right? And so that has been I would say, at the top of the impact of me serving. Uh, Directly next to that, I think it has allowed me to become a more patient, reflective, and intentional person, which if I do say so myself, I would say that I was already that, but this has certainly cemented it. Uh, Working in those spaces, you come across all types of people, right? And then we all deserve to be advocated for. Yet the truth is, we may not agree on a lot of things. Uh, and so, that's where the patience comes in, and truly being reflective, and intentional about how you advocate, and ensuring that you don't leave anybody behind, advocating for the community as a whole, so that we can create a better community overall. Um, which requires what I refer to as staying on the line, right? Which uh, is especially important during times of uncertainty. I was on the board during driver's licenses for all of the work that happened because of that, which obviously happened shortly after COVID and George Floyd, and there were certainly a lot of uncertainty, which required for us to work together and listen to one another and work with one another. And obviously, ultimately, we were able to get that bill passed. And I loved how I think that example for those that were watching or directly involved, I think to me, I found so much hope in that and how all the communities came together, all the immigrant communities, non-immigrant communities, Latinos, Hmong, Somali, we all came together to make sure that that was pushed forward. And so that was beautiful. And it's something that I've carried with me a lot. And, you know, fast forward to now, there's a lot of uncertainty as well. And so again, that lesson keeps coming back to be patient, to be reflective, to be intentional. And it also obviously expanded my understanding of public policy, governance, advocacy, and how lived experience can help shape better recommendations that, consequently will translate to decisions made that are uh, affecting real people, whether they're involved or not. Um, so I think that's really what I'm walking away with, and I hope to continue on my path. I'll be dropping from the board. My 4 years will be up in January, but my work certainly isn't, especially after the experience. So, Lou.
I can really appreciate that. So if for me too, right? It's just like it's definitely a confidence booster. I mean, probably before I even joined the planning commission, I'm from a third view, and you just see that how people like have like such a they're being so the fact that they're being able to speak on the spot and speak so thoroughly, so smoothly. So in my head, okay, there's no way I'm capable of doing that. And so, but the fact that you're part of it, and you notice that they all have all those speech memorized. So I'm like, okay, I can definitely do it too. Just the ability to understand all the quirks and like, okay, and like the majority of the people who's in the planning commission, they have, like I said, they have them in speech memorized. So you could do the same thing or just like understand enough about the speech before you go and say those. The other thing that I really just wanted to say too is that, especially for me, is that when I started doing it, it's just like continue to add more of my personality onto the board or to whatever I do, right? And so even in this instance, just continue to add, okay, I like a sense of humor. I want to make sure this is like we're all having fun, and so, but that's just who I am, and so continue to just make a goal for yourself to know, like, again, this is a give and take. And so you're also going to, as much as, because you're spending so much time, energy into it, you also want to give some of your personality and then share them to the members. Uh, the only thing that, lastly, that I just want to emphasize on is that uh, do join as many and boards and commission as possible, because even like as I mentioned in my previous comments, and I eventually just found out that yes, plan commission is not for me. That's only because I have exposure and I realized, okay, I'm more into accounting, finance, things that I feel I can contribute and give and take, right? And so then my goal is more leaning towards again the finance area aspect, so that I can contribute something that I'm really good at and be able to like take back those things with me to my community.
Awesome, Lou. Thank you very much. So has it impacted me both personally and professionally? I'll say personally, it has deepened my self awareness. I now have a stronger connection with my community, and a sense of more responsibility. Take for example Metro Surge. Yeah, some of us were in the front line, and I've got mayors that needed help, didn't even know what to do, what they could do for the communities, why people are, crying, how do we get help? My businesses are closing. And all I had to do is, what, here's a link that helps people of color, and bam, that's it. And I get emails back saying, thank you very much. We didn't know. Of course you didn't know. You know what I mean? So I have that, I've gotten bolder, in terms of, I felt like I have a responsibility, and that's how I was able to help my people. And then professionally, it has expanded my policy fluency, ability to communicate more effectively. And also, I think I want to add accessibility. I now have more access, like I said, to mayors and other people, but to to be used. I don't want to say I'm able to access them, but to help my community, not to make me look good. I don't care about, yeah, I know the mayor. Yeah, that doesn't help. But if knowing the mayor, I'm able to have a conversation about, hey, how do we help improve someone's life? That's awesome. So that's good in that sense. And then I will end by saying this: you don't make progress by standing on the sideline, folks. I know some of you, maybe one of you or none, are like me, who, I don't think this is for me. This doesn't make sense. Why am I doing BCLI? It absolutely makes sense. Again, you don't make progress by standing or sitting on the sidelines. So you got to step up. Maybe it's not the time. Just like me last year, I think Charlie Christie, I was like, I'm going to run for office. It's a year later, and people have been asking me, why aren't you running? I'm like, well, reality is I got kids that want dad. My son he likes me there. No one wants me there when he's scoring a goal, and to me, that for now is important. So I'm going to let my kids grow to the point that they're old enough, teenage years, pretty much. You guys understand that. Again, I had to be mature to understand that. You know what I mean? So I will run for office when the time is right. So it's not saying I'm not. And then two, keep trying, folks. I was one of those. It took 4 or 5 years. So please don't give up. I know there are systems out there. You know what I mean. Some of you know what I mean. There's systems out there. You apply, you get that letter saying, nah, sorry, at this time we're going so keep trying. I'm one of those. I tried and tried. I gave up, folks. It's like no one cares for me. I don't have experience. Keep fighting and you'll make it. I got to a point where I had to cut down because I got approved in so many boards, and I had to chop it down to three. Not trying to show off, but I'm saying just keep trying. When you want to give up, when you get those letters, keep applying. That's the advice I'm gonna leave you with. So I'll be quiet. Charlie, Christine, thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Oh, yeah. I was just gonna say we are now going to open to the Q&A. So if any of you have a question, you can either type it into the chat or I think Zoom has like a raising hand function. Yeah.
Go ahead and feel free to just come off mute as well. Whoever has a question.
Hi, this is Lee here. I'm trying to figure this out. Um, I have a question. So I know you guys have been on boards for a while, and are you on any paid boards yet, or is that something you aspire to, or is that part of some other rejection?
Um, I can answer. I'm not on any pay boards right now. I do believe that representation in corporate boards is needed, and so it is one of my goals. Especially for the Latino community. I think the percentage of Latino board members across the nation in Fortune 500 corporate boards is very little in comparison to the makeup of our community as a whole. And so I think that's very important. My board service in nonprofit and public boards, I don't know that I want to get paid for that. But so I haven't served on that. So it's that I guess I say that to say it's not a goal of mine as it relates to those specific boards, but certainly in corporate boards, I feel like that is a big goal of mine. and they're very well paid. So it'll be awesome to be in one of those. Those are my thoughts. But yeah, I think to your point about rejection, that is something that makes it daunting as it relates to corporate boards. But I don't know if you were referring to boards in general or corporate boards. So I'll leave it there.
Yeah,
Yep.
Lee, thanks for that question. Uh, Lou does have experience as a staff at McKnight, so he would understand how much the board members there are paid at the foundation level. And
Yes.
in the private sector is definitely you get paid a lot to be on there, but for the most part, public government boards, there won't be many that will have a stipend or a per diem or technical salary. It would be more of a stipend. But go ahead, Lou.
Yeah, no, I'm so the opposite of Elvis. You know what? I would love to be to join a board that's paid, especially for just seeing how private foundations they treat their boards amazingly. Like they each board meetings range about an hour to 2 hours. They pay anywhere between like $5,000 to $10,000 to attend, right? And that's not to say that like okay, it's just more of like they appreciate your time and they also want to like pay you for your experience and experience. And so I you know what like yeah 5 10 years from now I would love to be have the experience and exposure that you know that I can join in private foundations and then so they're paying me for my worth. And so yeah.
Yeah, I think you two answered beautifully. So we'll end it at that. I think there are more questions.
I see the question from, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce the name and I don't want to butcher it. Yuri is I believe the first part of the name.
Uh-huh.
Apology. I think that's a really good question.
Hmm.
And I think
Hmm.
Victor kind of a little bit touched on that in his one
Hmm.
of his early answers. I think for me and what I've observed from others is when you first join a board, depending on your passion and the level of impact that you want to create, you might be pulled to want to do more and more, and you sign up and you get asked a lot. You know, there's not a lot of people raising their hands to be on boards. Uh, and so, there's a lot of organizations out there that want people on their board, so they will certainly, accept you joining their board as it relates to nonprofits. But I think the key is making sure that you're aware of your capacity. You know what I mean? I always say that if you're not making the way, you're getting in the way. And I hate to be that as it relates to public service, For me, I found that my capacity allows me to be on 3 boards intentionally. Any more than that, I would be cheating the community from a good board member because there's no way with 2 kids as a single father with a career and a lot of other things that I do outside of work. There's no way that I can truly be intentional and truly give my due service and fiduciary duty to more boards than 3. But that's for me. For other people, it might be 5. For other people, it might be 1. I think it's just being aware of what roles you play in life. And to Victor's point, if you have kids, I think part of service is also being kind and understanding of yourself. Like, you don't have to feel guilty or feel like you have to save the world by being on boards or organizing and things. You have to make sure that you are being good to your people, being good to yourself. The most important person in your life is, of course, you. And so I think being aware of that and keeping that at top of mind first and foremost is what I would say as it relates to that. But if you're looking for a straight answer, for me, it's 3, but it might be different for everybody else.
Yeah. Thank you, Elvis. And I'll be quick. So what happened to me, I think you heard, I applied, I got rejected, and all of a sudden it was boom, 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 boom. And Elvis already talked about it. You will be stretched. One will want you here, the other will want you there, to the point where, I mean, the voice of reason were my kids. Hey, Dad, we haven't seen you. It's nice. You're everywhere. You want it, but at the end of the day, you know what happened to me? I burnt out. So you want to avoid burnout, folks. And I think Elvis said it. You don't want to be cheating yourself or cheating the community too. So I agree with Elvis. I'm down to 3 myself. I think it's manageable, and when time comes, I think I'm gonna go down to 2. So I'll end it at that because I see more questions and time is running out. So please.
And I think before y'all get to Danielle's question, just my thoughts at the staff level and with the different hats I wear. The answer to that question too also is exactly what's been alluded to. That includes how many hats you wear and what hats exactly, and as it may relate to the expectation that you might be on a board based on your personal and professional life. So, for example, if you're a senior staff in a local nonprofit or philanthropy, it might be part of your job duties, whether spoken or unspoken, that you also sit on local community boards or other nonprofit boards. If you are a government official, whether you're appointed or elected, by virtue of being elected or appointed, you might have an ex officio seat on some other board. So, for example, a member of the St. Paul City Council might be actually one is assigned as ex officio to the St. Paul Port Authority, right? And then one is assigned to the Metropolitan Airports Commission, for example. Or if you are a partner at a law firm, and you or you're about to be promoted to a partner at a law firm because one of the founding partners is retiring, and that person happened to sit on like three nonprofit and community boards, and when you take their job, you get promoted into their role, and during the transition, that retiring partner says, "Chai, by the way, I used to sit on these three boards, so now you have to sit on them." So now that becomes your professional responsibility in your professional capacity. So that the answer to that question is going to vary based on your personal and professional hats as well. And for the panelists, do you have any thoughts on Danielle's question about if there are the particular professional skills that are more sought after by boards and commissions?
I think I kind of answered. For me, at least in nonprofit, it's development and finance. I think those are the hardest positions to fill, excuse me, adequately. And so, if you have board members that have experience in that, it's obviously we live in a capitalist nation, and so money drives everything. So fundraising is huge, and then the stewarding those funds make finance, a great skill to have within uh, commissions. I think that differs depending on the council. Like for me and at MCLA, it's engagement, knowing my community and being out there. I think at the core of it all, though, it's what's needed is board members that are intentional, not just someone who's wanting to have the seat just for the sake of having the seat. Being able to roll your sleeves up and actually put in the work. And I think if you have that, if you have the passion for the mission, you can roll your sleeves up and learn everything. And I think that's, if I had to rate them, I would think that's number one, and everything else can come after. Organizations like Propel Nonprofits, they can train you on the things, but if you don't have the will and desire behind it, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, just two things to add to, like as I mentioned, HR and also legals. If you have those two expertise too, they're so crucial for a board.
Folks, have any other questions? I think we can have time for one or two more. Okay, Danielle asks, do you find that there are large donation requirements to the boards you have sat on, or are time and talent expectations?
You know, I so from my personal experience, the one board that did not ask for money is a private foundation. Your main responsibilities is just to oversee and allocate fundings to nonprofit organizations. But in terms of the ask for funding from money from you, that's not an ask for them. The it's a community, especially for nonprofit, small, and even for like St. Paul College Foundation. One of the kind of the expected ask is like at least $500 to $1,000 per year, and so that's one of the things that too. Like if you do have the capacity financially, yes, you can join like several boards, but you are expected to donate $700 to each of it.
Yeah, for me, it's time and talent. Time. I, in fact, I'm laughing because my goodness, some of them are very demanding. And again, I think my colleagues here have alluded to it, and so has Charlie. I mean, you got to know what you can do professionally. So the boards I was in or I'm in, it's not really in large donations, but it's more donating your time. I'm talking you're gone, and sometimes you're traveling out of, you're in other, yeah, in the hotels, yeah. So yes, time, when they say time is money, right? As cheesy as that sound, it's very true. So again, I learned my lesson the hard way. I was burnt out, and I saw that my time isn't being effective with my family. So again, that's my personal story. But yes, time. Yes.
I I think it depends. I think the answer is it depends. Like Lou said, foundations probably they won't require it. I'm sure the Bush Foundation is not requiring their board members to donate their money. Uh,
No.
I think the obviously MCLA is not asking any money from me either. I don't think that they can. As it relates to nonprofits, though, that's a different ballgame, and it also depends. And I go kind of back and forth with this because I don't like for uh, the ability to donate to be a barrier for
Yes.
organizations to
Mhm,
have good board members.
mhm, mhm.
And at the same time, nonprofits can't exist if they don't have the funds.
Yeah.
And if the board members that are there to support the organization won't donate, it can harm the organization, right? For example, if you are talking to nonprofits that are uh, advocating for immigrant communities right now, or NPR, for example, uh, they need the money. They're under attack, and so if you want other people or outsiders to donate, and the board members aren't donating, what message is that sending to community? I literally just came back this morning from Indiana from doing um, some training on fundraising with the Lilly School of Philanthropy, and I was in the room full of development professionals, and that was a lot of what they were talking about. A lot of complaints about board members not being willing to donate,
Mm,
especially when they are in dire situations.
mm,
So yes, there is requirements for some nonprofits, and it is a point of contention. But I think looking at the whole picture and why, I think it's a better question to ask.
mm,
Um, but to get to your question specifically, yes, there are. What I see, at least in the state and the nonprofits that serve community, anywhere from 200 to 300, maybe 1,000. Bigger boards, bigger organizations, national organizations. I've seen that it gets up to 3,000 a year. Um, and some will also look at what you bring to the table while you're able to fundraise. Like if you work for a big company and you're able to advocate for you getting funding that way, then they will take that as your contribution. For example, I worked for Morgan Stanley for quite some time when I was with Green Card Voices, and I was able to get them a $10,000 grant. Do you think then they turned around and asked me for a donation? No. But at the same time, when they're applying for grants, for them to have the board participation and donation looks good on the application. So there's that too.
May I ask a question? I'm calling in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, I don't know, I don't remember if any of the gentlemen worked or were on a city commission. If they have had experience as a commissioner for the city, what were some of the challenges that they encountered?
Yeah, Lou was on the St. Paul Planning Commission. Lou, you want to take that?
Uh, a lot of readings. As I mentioned, if I could summarize all those binders and be able to go into the meeting more prepared, because I mean, as much as like you want to be as informed as you can for every meeting. Uh, it's just the bandwidth trying to understand all the material before you go into the discussions. That's definitely the biggest hurdle on my end. The other thing too is keep in mind is like I mean like time, right? With meetings, there's multiple meetings that you have to attend, even in preparation for the actual plan commission meeting.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks, folks. Christine, do you want to put up the last two slides? If you start with
Yep.
the placement one, please.
Mm-hmm. 1 second.
All right. As we wrap up here, I think one theme or nugget that I picked up from early on in the first set of answers from the three panelists is that sometimes um, we kind of shy away from opportunities because we don't think we're qualified or we don't think we have the lived experience. Um, and sometimes it takes other community members to encourage us to step up into our leadership role and to step into or lean into our power, right? Like Victor said, engaging in a debate with a community leader who is an elder, and it takes them to encourage you to see your passion and to recognize your thought leadership and your contribution and to encourage you to step in to elected or appointed office. And but we have to remember that these systems, we belong in these systems and at these tables as well. Former State Senator Mimoa, um, she says that you either have a seat at the table or you are on the menu, right? Because these boards and commissions, they make policy decisions that affect all our lives at every level of our being, from social issues to our public health to transit issues to businesses and even private decisions about what we can and cannot do, whether that's in the way we conduct business or regulation of our environment, right? And so boards and commission service is really important. Lastly here, our last slide here is just a kind of a bragging slide for folks who are newer to the BCLI. This is just a sampling of some of the political geographies where our alumni have been placed on various boards at every level throughout the state of Minnesota, from the local to the regional to the state. And as we wrap up here, the last couple of things is our next issue series is in a month. So the second Thursday of September, we will have Secretary of State Steve Simon join us, and we will be talking about elections, protection, and outreach, voter outreach. And also, we are asking folks if you feel generous enough to make a donation to Nexus. That would be wonderful. I just put the link in the chat here, but there's also a link on our website. Um, if you want to help support the work of our leadership programs, not just and whether that's for BCLI itself and our continued thought leadership and engagement, or for the purposes of our other bodies of work at Nexus, whether that's community wealth building um, or stewardship. And then kind of lastly here, let me put the eval link. We always do an eval at the end of every session. And so if you could please literally take 2 minutes. And it won't even take two minutes. It's 4 questions. You could literally do it in like 1 minute. If you could please take 1 minute to do the evaluation in our survey monkey link here, um, that'd be wonderful because we do read them and we do take them seriously. So with that, I want to say thank you for everyone who joined us today on our issue series, and we hope to see you again in a month for our September issue series on elections. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.